Hi, Shan and Tam fam. Oh man, just looking back at that, I had to smile to myself. There are so many memories, so many fun things that happened. What are you thinking, Tam? What is some of your most like things that pop out from the wedding? Because I have so many things, even just now talking to Paige and King, which I'll share their own thoughts. What are some of the most memorable moments from the wedding for you?
Oh man, there were so many. It was definitely an exciting time. For me, it was interesting because I have never been involved in a wedding outside of my own before.
Yes, you said that.
I definitely was never a bridesmaid. And, it just sort of brought back for me all the things that I experienced when I was getting married. And I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that the way I felt in terms of experiencing everything, I wanted to make sure that you experienced all of that and that you were really present, right? So I wanted to ensure that I made it easy for you.
Which you did. I mean, right? You were my backbone, like my heart. You were my front, my side, everything. My gosh. Like, I don't think I could have gotten through the wedding without you and Dee. Yes. Dee, right? Dee was such a major part of the planning, organizing, keeping us on track. And you, Tam, like it was truly a family initiative and family effort, and we wouldn't have gotten through Markham and I without you guys. We wouldn't have. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful ceremony.
Yeah, it was our pleasure, like my family's pleasure, to be really involved and to be a part of it. It was a blessing for us. I told you that I've never seen my garden bloom like that before. It's like it knew that something special was gonna happen. And it was beautiful that way. And so it was interesting for me coming from behind the scenes to see, for it to be experienced, right? And the other thing for me that was memorable was when we were leaving the hotel, just before we left the hotel to come to the venue. Yes. We had a circle of prayer with your bridesmaids and you, and that was powerful. That was powerful. So that prayer that Katie did, oh my goodness.
It was powerful.
Yeah, I felt
that was one of my most memorable moments as well too.
In that moment, and just like covering you for, the wedding itself and, your marriage.
On my head, the marriage, right? Which we're gonna get into a lot today with Fabian. But, there was, a lot of memorable moments for me, the children, seeing Mark come up there, walking in with my aunt and uncle, and just you ladies who have been there. Dee, as I said, who's just phenomenal. And, even people from overseas. My best friend Petri was not able to come, but she was able to contribute in her own way. So it was truly a family circle. And we give God thanks. I'm married and I'm here. Yes. But after the wedding, then what? Right? Then what? We're going to get into a lot of those nitty-gritty conversations today with Fabian about marriage, right? And what happens after the wedding, because the wedding is just one day. Right. Right? Because so much happened in just the day. The children had a great time. Yeah. Paige was just amazing. She was so excited. Yes. What's her word?
She was nerve-sighted.
A mixture
of nervous and excited.
Yes. Like even at the hotel, she's like, Auntie Shan, you okay? You okay? How are you feeling, Auntie Shan? How are you feeling? Like she was I told her, you're my best girl. Like she was like, they're checking in with me. What's happening now, Auntie Shan? How are you feeling? Yes. Talk to me, Auntie Shan. Yes. This was Paige, right? And just now we're in the kitchen. Yeah. We're getting ready. And she's like, when you guys were kissing, it was so interesting. So what I mean, Paige, she's like, I was looking at you and I was like, wow, that is interesting.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, Paige, she's so dramatic.
Yeah, leave it to these kids to like be so very descriptive,
Yeah,
so emotive
yeah.
about what they're
She's like,
feeling.
it was just so interesting. It was interesting to see. I was like, okay, Paige.
Yeah. And actually, since she mentioned that, one of the other standout moments for me was when you walked in. Like I was standing in front of Markham.
Yes.
And when you walked in, to see his reaction, to see his face when he saw you, and he was like, wow.
Yeah, for someone who not like me. Yes.
Yeah, that was a standout moment for me. He was like, wow. And that just like, for me, it just filled me with a lot of joy. I'm like, that was just pure love. That was just pure joy in the moment. So that was one of the other standout moments.
Yeah, and it was a lot of love. It was a small wedding because of COVID, of course. We had less than 30 people, but it was filled with so much love, so much prayer. And like everybody that was there just felt like family. Right? It didn't feel like it was strangers or anything. We had a Zoom component in the morning for the ceremony, but it was just filled with so much love, and we're grateful. And you hear the pan man at the front. We had a little pannies there, and it was awesome. Yes. The after party was good. The ceremony was beautiful, and it was a wonderful day. They were projecting for thunderstorm, but it was actually extremely hot.
Yeah, the rains came the day before, which was a blessing.
Yes, it was extremely hot.
Yeah.
But on and on. I mean, it's been over a month now. I think about 5 weeks.
Yes.
Right. So just trying to settling in and getting to the real life nitty gritty of what life is about. So I'm so looking forward to talking to this wonderful woman of God, Fabian Dehaney.
Yes.
She was with us before on our interview when she spoke about being an overcomer. Right. And we got so much positive feedback from the viewers in terms of they wanted her to go in depth about marriage, because sometimes we don't talk about things, right? Especially when people go through different situations. But what we know is that from your testimonies and what you share, others can be healed and to learn, right? It's not about judgment. It's about all of us to learn as individuals. So I'm excited to bring on this woman of God, this mother, this businesswoman, this prayer warrior.
Yes.
She is a prayer warrior to talk to us a little bit about what happens during the marriage. So we're gonna welcome Mrs. Fabian Dehaney.
Yes, give us 1 second while we try to bring her in.
Hi, Fabian.
Hello, ladies. Can you hear me well?
We are hearing you well.
Perfect. Yes, with the delay, sometime I'm trying to get off the Facebook Live and try to get in. So
okay, so great. So welcome, Fabian. Welcome. This is our second time around. So we just wanted to start by you just introducing yourself to the viewers. Again, please, and just speak a little bit now on how long you've been married, introduce your husband, and just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Certainly. Well, just before I get in, I have to shout out a big congratulations. Welcome to the club, the finest club on this earth.
I have to love you.
So as you ladies know, and the viewers, my name is Fabian, aka I love Miss Fabulous. That's what I go by. And I'm married to Shan Dehaney, Lion, Lloyd, name it. I'm have one for alias too. We're actually coming up to our 20th year anniversary. Yes, November. So it's been a while. It's definitely been a while. It's definitely been a journey. I often say to him and I often say to my children, as much as the road has its ups and downs over the years, I wouldn't walk it with anyone else. So I'm still grateful for him. I'm still in love with my boo. And
I know.
We're still trying to go on this journey to the forever and the end until death do us part. Definitely believe in those vows and holding it down over the years, and look forward to the many years to come.
Awesome. Love it, Fabian. Love it. Love it. So, Fabian, we're going to get into some other questions, but feel free to just speak and just to be open as you usually are.
Yeah.
No problem.
So, Fabian, like from the last time we spoke, we talked a lot about, your journey with, children, the pregnancy, the church and all of that. And there was one thing in particular that you said to us that has stuck. I know definitely with myself, and Shan and I have talked about it too. And you talked about the woman being the temperature gauge or check in the home, right? And how a lot of how you feel, how you are determines kind of what happens in the home. So I wanted you to talk to us a little bit about that, just to delve into that a little bit. Like, how have you maintained a good temperature?
Well, I definitely want to jump on that point to talk about the temperature and being like the thermostat in your home.
Yeah.
Because we know it's the gauger. And as women, and I can tell you for myself, being married and having children, that sometimes or most times we have to pick our battles. So in the home, you have conflict, and either you're going to blaze it, you're going to out it, you're going to draw the temperature on it, because most men, as we know, are not conflict blazer. They're not the one that's, this is bothering me. They're more the silent type, walk away type. And even the silence in the house can be a bad temperature, because especially if you're the kind of person who love to communicate like myself, I love to talk, I love to express myself. Right. So if, for instance, things are not the way it is, and I know my husband, Shan, is more on the quiet side, but too much quietness don't work for me. Too much quietness is not a good temperature for me. Because at this point, I'm constantly saying, wagwan, what wrong, this, I have so much to say, and you not receiving that. I already see that there's something going on, or the game is not right. So the one thing that I take into consideration over the years, and trust me, I never always get this right, because I was a fire starter. I have something to say. Whether you walk me out, whether you're in the garage, the bathroom, I turn up at the door, and I say, listen, this about me, that about me, through the door. But over the years, I realized that, my God, what type of woman am I? I'm this man not gonna come up to me. If every time he come on me up 50 million things to say to him, and regardless of his mood when he walk into the house, I'm ready to burst, because you have the children, you have the home, you have the responsibility. So there's so much to tell. So I've learned to just say, when you how was your day at work? You know, you had a rough day, because I can tell by your attitude, you're not really in the talking mood. So maybe you need your space. Maybe you need an hour or so to unwind and learn to give that space without feeling like I am rejected, or without feeling like I don't get to express myself. And after an hour or so, I'll be like, boo, I really have some things that I want to talk about, because I still need my release, but I can't come at you the same way. And I find over the years that helps, where it's like, okay, you can tell me what's going on. And maybe I can't give him the 50 points at once, but I'm going to draw for the top 10, the ones that are burning me, to say, you know what, the pity them do this, or the schoolwork coming in, or this a bill coming in, or that bill. So I prioritize with what is most important. It's the temperature. Also with the temperature home is the kids. They feed off your relationship. So you already argue, and your kids are behind you like, okay, mom, stop. You already know that the fire start is all over the house, because there's something's going on with mom and dad. They're not talking to each other. They're not communicating. So I had to look at my children. What are they seeing? Not that they're not going to see us disagree, and not that they're not going to hear voices raised, but we're doing it in a respectful manner. And they understand that, yes, mommy might be upset about something, and mommy might give daddy a space to talk about it, but mommy's not jumping on daddy, because I have a daughter.
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
they will be getting married, and who somehow is going to reciprocate what she sees in her household to be conflict resolution. So you really have to look at your holistic home and say, there's children, what am I showing them? Is my opinion and how I feel is so important that I want to wreck my children and wreck my marriage just so I can be right, or just so I can release when I want to release?
Yeah.
So I pick my battles. I'm very selective with timing. I'm very selective in how much I can pour on Shan, because as much as I have absorbed all of that being a woman, and we do things differently and we can multitask and we can feed all that information, I realize that he doesn't process it the same way.
And it's funny you say that, because when you were speaking, that's a word that kept jumping out at me, processing. Because men process differently.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, yeah, because I'm like that too. I have something to say and I want to express myself, right? But it might not be the right time. So what happens? How do you get yourself to come to that balance to wait? Right? So that it doesn't start a conflict, or you know what I mean? For you to just wait in the moment and to just be still. Be still.
Body language is huge, ladies. If I can tell you one thing that you can take away from your marriage, is to study your spouse, especially your husband's body language. If he already had a weighty day and he's coming in, he's already shrunk, he's already deflated, you have to see that, like, okay, I may not know all that's going on, because he might not be the expressive type to come in and say, I had a bad day at work like I would, and this client got on my nerve, and this. They process things differently. So the first thing I do now, when my husband come in, I go to the door, I give him a kiss. I said, babes, how was your day?
Yes.
And he'll be like, oh, rough day, or boom, I'm just tired, or, you know, and I read those cues. So the fact that you're just tired and you come in, I'm giving you your unwind space. There is no complaining. There is no update. I just let you come in. If you want to grab something to eat, if you just need to go in the garage, you need to go on the deck, you need your time. I have nothing more to say. So my communication is locked down at that point. Now, if he comes in and he's like, oh, boom, I tell us I have a great day at work, I mean, you're kind of open for conversation. And I will hear you out, because I'm a woman of many words.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you the option to speak first, because maybe if I get started, you might not get that plug to come in and really, or you'll just be like, okay, tell me. And you just have to tell me if I tell you, I'm going to tell you. So I am just going to say, okay, I'll give you first to speak. Now, other issues that I find that you have to be cunning with, that if I need something or something is more personable, I try to leave that for like a later. You know, I can put like ice in pancake. And soothe it before. You know, me give that digestive pill. So you have to be willing.
You don't have to give him everything at once.
Don't give everything at once. So the ones them concerning you that you kind of need that extra care, leave that to little later, you know. Don't know the kids them stuff early. And then later you can, you know, when everybody unwind and you lie down and have sweet conversation, you hear me better. So I can tell you my concerns from my heart or what I want in the marriage.
Nice. Love that, Fabian. I just love that. And I know that it hasn't been easy. 20 years, I'm sure that you guys have had some mountains and had some valleys.
Yes.
And you speak to us about some of the challenges you experienced with Shan, and how were you guys able to go through these?
Oh my gosh, yes. To be honest, guys, I'm one that I'm a research queen. And I faced a lot of, or we have faced a lot of things in our marriage. Some of it earlier, and I always say, when you get married and even children come into play, it changed the dynamics of your marriage. And even parenting. And I found just a little bit earlier into the marriage, talking about kids and kind of gradually going up, that as moms, first-time moms, or just dealing with multiple children, your care for your spouse does slip, or your time, because you switch into mommy mode more than you do into spouse mode. You're concerned with their schoolwork. You're concerned with teachers' report. You're concerned with their health. You're concerned with their vaccination. There's so much to be concerned with,
you have to do
that you tend to focus a lot. And then when you have more kids come into the equation, is the more you focus. So in the first 5 years or so of the marriage, it was rough rough because I was constantly in mommy zone, getting them a good start. They have to learn to read. And my kids are 4 years apart. So as soon as I come out of one stage, I'm in it again and I'm in it again. So I feel like I never really got a break in time. Now, then I didn't really have the skills to kind of note these things. I thought, I want to be a good mom. I want to set them up for the road to success.
Yes.
So I did in those first couple of years kind of navigate, that's where a lot of, I have headache and I'm tired. I feel so well. And, all those excuses come in very needily to fulfill that intimacy part of the marriage. And then the fear of also getting pregnant again. So I feel like that did put a damper on that intimate part of the relationship. And for me, it was always like, Lord Jesus, say for cuddle time, I said, we're not gonna really cuddle, where that I go. Like, so I'm not gonna want cuddle time because I'm just tired and me I take it time and me I say, Lord God, the picnic just gone to bed 8:30. Me have to go pack up the lunch tomorrow 10 o'clock. Then if me go really start that now, me not go fall asleep till 12 and then me have to get up early tomorrow. I don't know if it's all worth it, so
Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah.
So in that time, it was almost like, the kind of lullaby I'm putting up on the dresser because, me I call for the headache call when they now come me and say, you need to come give me a little recession.
Exactly.
And that went on, but I didn't, in that sense, I realized that I was only thinking about the children, right? So oftentimes we had a lot of argument was like, you're always tired, you always have a headache, you're always, and I'm like, I have 3 people, you have to understand. So I didn't really understand Sean's need. And I don't think he really understood where I was coming from because he's like, may I help you with the pit? Them. It's not like are you alone, I'm come in and make sure I'm cook or I'm bringing food. He's a very active, but for me, I was drained. I was literally drained, and then I had iron deficiency, and so that make you more tired. So there was a lot of friction with intimacy, and it's like, okay, since me go lie down on the bed and if me roll over, me don't know, it's like, my heart, everything. It's like, let's go sleeping on the couch then. So you deal with that intimacy breakdown with the marriage. First off, in that change when it comes to children, to realize that yes, you have the kids, but you also have a husband that needs that cuddle time and love making and time for just intimacy. And then we move further on into the years now where the kids are a little bit older and we're now like 10, 15 years in the marriage. And the one thing I realize is when you get to that point, you find that sometimes the kids are older, they're all out for school, you're back to work and your life gets so busy, you tend to kind of see that drifting in the marriage where you're not conversating as much because now you have lots of kids that's giving you a lot of information. So here you are building a conversation piece with your kids, but then you have your spouse over here that feels, left out. And you hit the real struggle part. Now you're dealing with finances, you're dealing with the breakdown. And so the marriage becomes weighty. And I've been through that. I mean, a lot of people don't know, but about 15 years in our marriage, we actually had a break, like a complete break where it's like, okay, is this done? Is this over? And I think it's in that time when that break happened, I realized, I said, oh my God, like, I really love this man. Like, I really love my husband. I miss him. I miss the intimacy. I miss what we built. I miss the fact that I want to spend the rest of my life with him. And I did take some of the things for granted. And the breaking point is when you realize that, okay, you've decided that, at that point, we're going to separate or he's going to take a break out of the marriage. And you realize that here you are standing now. And keep in mind, in this 15 years, guys, that Sean's not in the church. He's a backslider. So I'm in the church. So you know how we feel in the church about marriage. Even when marriage fall apart or break, you do believe the covenant that you've taken and believe that you want this. And trust me, I realize in that point is when I really develop my prior life relationship with God hard, because I had to say, if he decide that he doesn't want to come back to this marriage, and I'm here believing that till death do us part, and I'm standing in this marriage, then I got to go to the creator of marriage. And this is the one thing I say to everybody who says, can a marriage work after it's been broken or shred or fallen apart? It can. There is a God that works better than glue. And I say to people, we were apart for about 1.5 years.
Okay.
And I say to people all the time, this is like 5 years going back now, me and Shan coming back together, I feel like we have just started a new beginning. And I have learned from where I fall short, and I can talk to him about where he falls short. So we're not ending down that same road 15 years later in the same predicament.
Yeah,
so
you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. Exactly. Where you need to communicate, you need to express how you feel. And that's when I kind of realized the difference between, I was expressive. I didn't realize there was a breakdown in the marriage, but looking back now with my eyes, I can see where I have wronged or negated my responsibilities as a wife. And maybe I thought I was communicating the way I know how, but I wasn't reading his signal because he's such a quiet person to the point where he's like, okay, I'm done. Then it's like, what? When did we get here? With the help of God, we were able to come back and
awesome. And thanks you for being vulnerable to share that, Fabian, right? Because not a lot of people talk on that. And communication is big. Not communicating enough, not communicating effectively, or communicating too much. You have to find that balance.
You have to find the balance before, guys, it's too late, or before you get to the point where you're just all throwing things at each other and all the accusation and all the blame, and you're the one and you're the this and so it becomes a blame game to the point where it just seems like, okay, this is not working.
Right. And you know, Fabian, there's something that you said just now that really resonated, and it's really about taking responsibility for your own part in the process, right? Because I always say you can stand up right in your wrongness, you know, and you can convince anybody say you're right when you're wrong.
You're wrong.
And sometimes you need to just own it. Like it's either you're going to apologize or you're going to say, you know what, like I actually did not do right in this situation. And so now it's about, you know, what am I going to do to correct that moving forward? And really, you know, taking a selfless approach sometimes.
If you want your marriage, I tell people all the time, marriage is not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not.
You know, the wedding day, the excitement. I love, but it takes work, and it takes compromise, and it also takes, just like you said, Tan, you have to take account for your action, and you have to say, did I do everything that I could? And if I didn't, can I stand in my own truth and say I have fallen short? And sometimes I can tell you this, you don't have to wait for the other person to take ownership of their action, because I cannot control Shan's action, but I can control Fabian. So I might be waiting to say, okay, I've admitted this, but what are you going to admit? And if you wait on that, here comes bitterness, here comes unforgiveness, and here we are in the same place where we started. So let me start with me. Let me stand in my truth. Let me tell you where I went wrong and what I'm going to work on, because I realize it contributes to the breakdown of our marriage.
Yes,
absolutely.
And there is something else that you said that I kind of relating to or identifying with. You talked about that 10-15 year period where like the children are getting older and so on. This is actually a conversation that my husband and I had recently, because we just celebrated 15 and we're like, we were looking at each other and we're like, okay, you don't really have to hire a babysitter now for them to, you know, for us to just say, let's go do this. Even for it to go for a weekend or something. And we're like, what are we going to do with ourselves? Do we want to do stuff together? Or do we want to do stuff?
And it's a real question. It's real. Like, how do we feel about each other to go with?
Yeah, and I feel like it's a period of like rediscovering. Right?
Yes.
You're not at that honeymoon phase. You've gone through a bunch of stuff. You've weathered a little bit of the storm. There might be more storm to come, but where are we now? And how do we feel about each other? And what do we want to do together? You know what I mean?
It's so true. And a lot of people don't want to take that serious look because you might not like the answer.
Yes.
And the point is, get the answer so we can change how we feel about each other. So if we've grown apart in 15 years because we spent so much time raising our children, let's not allow it to get to the point where we're completely like strangers.
Yes.
Let's recap at this mark and say, let's get to know each other because you're a different person than you were 15 years
ago. Yeah, definitely.
And the fact of the matter is, Fabian, your spouse's relationship, if you look at it from a biblical context, the main relationship, even above the children, right? It's God, husband and wife, then children, right? So we have to be intentional about making that time for each other so that we don't get lost. We don't job responsibilities, caring for the children. We have to be intentional about spending that time.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah, we feel like we're just getting our lives back. We're like, let's go someplace.
I know.
Well, let's get away. Let's go.
I know. So, Fabian, how were you able to balance that, right? In terms of the children and Shan, how were you able to balance that within your marriage so that you don't feel guilty not giving the children time or giving him time and attention? How were you able to balance that in your marriage?
And the funny thing is, Shan, I can tell you that after we decided to reconcile our marriage is when I really had to sit down with the children as well, because keep in mind that in that break, they're obviously part of that and so much that went on in that point.
Right.
To come back and say, obviously, the one thing I can say that transpired in that whole 15-year breakdown of our marriages, my kids learned the art of forgiveness and they learned the art of rebuild. And in that midst, I remember having the conversation and they would say, Mom, I don't know if I ever want to get married because I've only seen you and Dad and you get to this place 15 years later that you guys are not together.
Wow.
And then now when we got back together, it's like just the other day we were talking and it's like, gosh, marriage really is work and can work and you can forgive and you can rebuild without the resentment or the anger or the throwbacks. I mean, keep in mind in the first little bit of gel, you're gonna find that it's ragged. But once you're both made up your mind that this is what you want, it becomes smooth again. And so with that, now that I have older children, it was like, okay, Dad and I are gonna go away, like anniversaries and birthdays. We've made that conscious decision that on these times we will leave home and maybe 2 or 3 more times throughout the year. I mean, it's 12 months. So we've made that decision with their kids to say, you guys are old enough. And even if we leave in the week, you can assist your younger brother who's 14 to get himself together to go to school. And then you're off to school or off to work. So with older kids, it became easier to navigate to say, we have to take time out for us. And even when we're home, I have us time. So we'll go on the deck and we'll have a glass of wine or we'll have some juice. And it's just us. We just throw out the blanket, we lay down out there, we put on music, and most of the time they come out there and they're like, I want to throw up.
Well, go inside then and throw up.
And we have movie nights and we have go for walks. So I've become, because I'm definitely a planner and I realized that I've planned everything else. I'm good at planning birthday party, planning barbecue. So now I'm like, I'm going to plan date nights. That's going to be part of my thing where it's like, Shan, once a month, we're going on a date. Doesn't have to be anything expensive. We even go to Tim Hortons and we sit there because they open late and then we talk. Or we drive to the lake and we buy a sandwich or food and we sit in the car and we talk, because I said, we have to intentionally make time time for each other so that we don't falter back in the habits of growing apart.
Right.
So that's how I've navigated now with the children being older, to say, mommy and daddy need our time. We need our me time. We need our us time. And so we take it out and we go, and most of them they're like, my God, I'm not living the best life, because we want to go up on date more than the young people them. We always step on a date. But it's so nice to have that and to see that, oh my God, you're such an awesome God that you can put things together and make it better than it was before, because we're in a different stage of our life. We have older children, and I'm still in love with you. You're still in love with me. And we're going to grow this love so not to get down the same path of where we have been before.
Date nights are important, man. Once a month, as you said, date nights are important.
They are important. You gotta schedule them in.
And in relation to the kids, like Shan is asking, balancing that. I always tell my kids, if you think I don't love you when I'm leaving or when we're leaving, we love you more when we come back, right? we'll be in a better
place.
Better frame of mind.
Yes.
Exactly.
So let us leave. We're gonna love you even more.
Exactly.
You mentioned something earlier about the church and Shan not being in the church and so on. And I don't know if that was at a point in time or it's different now, but I wanted to ask you about that, knowing that, you're so grounded in your faith and in the church and so on. Like the Bible talks about being unequally yoked and all of that, right? So how did the church influence or, sort of play a part in your marriage?
Big part. Big part. I can't give enough praise to the church family and my pastor. And I realized that even coming in over the years, and I struggled with that internally myself too, saying, okay, Shan's not in church, I am. And when things break down, when you are like, okay, maybe because we're unequally yoked, this is all happening. That's the first thing you want to laugh, because you're like, but God is a God of order.
Yes.
And this is what I say to people. I am not telling you because I came into the church with my children and I came into the church with Shan. And when you come in and you hear those scriptures, it is hard to digest, because you start to analyze your life and you're like, oh yeah, well, we're not really walking in the same. And you tend to push some of the problems towards that. And it was never towards that. It was issues that was unresolved. But because we're in church, we tend to say, oh, it's because we're unequally yoked. It's because him not come to church, him not hear the pastor, him not hear the preaching. So everything kind of bother him. But no, because God said by your conduct as an unbelieving spouse, you can win the other person over. And I have seen that before we had our break-in, Shan would come to church Easter, Thanksgiving, when the kids are doing something. And I can tell you, ladies, the awesome God that I serve is that when we broke and we came back, that same year almost, Shan decided to recommit his life.
Wow.
Let me tell you what God, and I feel like it was such a test of character, and it was such a test of, are you gonna stand? Are you gonna fight for this? Are you gonna hold on to this thing to say, oh, maybe God did want for break up because we did unequally yoked to begin with? Well, God was saying, in your conduct, in your praying, in your believing that I am God and I'm able to restore, because this is children and family unit and lives around that's going to be affected, that I'm going to put this thing back together and I'm going to bring your family back into holistic union with God, where you can worship and you can serve and you can pray and you can.
Amen.
Jesus.
Amen. God is not further, man.
So I have tested him in this
Amen.
season to say that. And I had my pastor support. He was behind me. He said, Fabian, this is the test. I just need you to keep your mind focused. Stay in prayer. Walk with God. I am praying for your strength and believe in what God has put together. Let no man put asunder. You have a good man. He's a God-fearing man who has misstepped and misdirected his way. But if you trust God and watch him, you will see him not only bring him back to his family, but bring him back into the fold. And I saw God do that. I saw God do that. So I am an advocate to say, listen, man, close up the bridge and the gap and everything. And if you're already in it, if he's not saved yet, if he's not coming yet, don't draw for that scripture for comfort, but take comfort that by the way you love that man, by the way you love that woman, by the way you treat that woman, by the way you conduct yourself, you can pull them back into the fold. Or if they've never been in the fold, to look at you and say, why, you know, my wife is truly a Christian, you know, are through hell and high water, but she stay with me and she pray with me and she not judge me. And there you find that heart towards God will come because of you, because we are the flesh and body of God.
Yes, I love that. You're such an inspiration, man. And prayer.
Yes.
Prayer.
Girl, I tell them no for eat carpet. When I tell you say prayer, I tell people no stush prayer. When you're facing some things, Shan and Tam, you know, so you can't just say, Father Jesus, you have to just bawl out. You have to just spread out and say, Lord Jesus, come by here right now, because you got to strengthen my mind in this season while I trust you.
Amen.
And believe that you're going to do this in me.
Amen. Prayer. God, I love you, man. I love you. But just to wrap up, what advice would you give to newly married couples like myself, and for those who are considering marriage, right? What advice would you give? I
would say, don't be discouraged with marriage and love. It is a beautiful thing. Hence why God created it in the beginning. And anything that God creates is wonderful. It's just imperfect people coming together that's going to rub skin. Don't go in with false expectation, especially believing that marriage is to serve you. You both go in to serve each other. Right. And just like having a child, most of it is about giving to them, and they take and they take and they take. Go into your marriage with an expectation to give, to build, to restore. And the one thing I say is, I know we live in a world where divorce is 50% nationwide and 40% in Canada, but if 1 in 2 is going to get divorced, make up your mind that you are going to be the one that stayed together. If you both go in with that intention, come whatever battles you face in between that timeline, between that dash of when you got married till the end, you can stand through it. There is nothing on this world. You know that scripture that we read, it said, what can separate you from the love of God? And you look at marriage, and if God used marriage to pick his relationship with us and him, what shall separate me from my marriage?
Nothing.
And if you have that same made up mind, you can make it. It will be rough. Don't expect that it's going to be smooth sailing all the time. Nothing is smooth sailing all the time. But what you invest is what you will return. And sometimes when you don't get that return right away, continue to build. Find other like-minded people. I'm not against people who are married having single friends, but it's time for you to add some married people to your network. So when you face certain issue that maybe your single sister can't understand, go to somebody who's living it and saying, child, that is small. That is small, and you can work through it. These are the steps. Find honest people who will openly talk to you about the steps of marriage. You're not alone. And if you're in it and you feel like your marriage is just overwhelming and it's boring and it's this, listen, man, spice it up. Get up and say, No more of this, because if me go stay in this and I plan to stay in this, it's gonna be good. So I'm gonna invest something, stir up something. If your husband is not a going out person, bring going out inside. Create those atmosphere of romantic getaway in the basement. Get one blanket, get some candle, get some rose, grab one create something that is gonna create spunk and laughter. Find what your spouse enjoy it together. Right. You can make this thing work.
I love it.
Yes.
Love it.
And one of our persons watching, Glenda, says it takes two to be committed and God in the midst. Right? Definitely true. Oh my goodness, Fabian, you're full of gems and just
I can listen to you all night. All night, Fabian.
And you know, it's real talk. It's the truth, you know, in terms of what you've said. I find that we don't often talk about these real things and challenges and experiences in marriage, right? And that gives some people entering into it a false perception
that it's all perfect.
That it's all perfect, and it isn't. It really is hard work, because when you think about it, you're bringing two people, different ways of thinking together,
two imperfect beings, right? And one of the things that Tam will always say to me, just remember your vows. Yeah. Remember the vows. It's gonna be tough. You're gonna have hard days. It's gonna be difficult. You know, she was very upfront and transparent with me, but she said, just remember your vows.
Remember your vows.
Remember your vows.
Yes.
Write them down, because in the excitement of the day, you don't remember. Yes. But you go back and say all the things that you said, I do too.
Yes. Be prepared.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
Fabian, this was amazing. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us. I know that the viewers were filled. You know, we got, it was such a great conversation, and I pray God's blessing over your marriage with Shan, that you grow and expand and take it to another level of love. Yeah, we love you so much.
We do. We're gonna have to find another reason to talk to you again.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Fabian. We love you. We love you.
Yes, that was great.
Right? It's always so much fun talking to Fabian, you know, and just the realness of the talk, right? I really value and appreciate that. And, you know, we hope that it was of some value to whoever decided to join us tonight. Yes. We really appreciate you guys coming on, watching.
And always supporting us. Right?
Always.
Support us. So, you know, this video will be on our YouTube channel. So please, if you know someone that's newly married, thinking about marriage, or just life, you know, share the video, like, subscribe, and join Tam and I on as we go through different journeys, talking to different individuals. We're gonna have a part 2 to this with a few couples.
Yes.
So
that's something exciting to look forward to.
Yes. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for joining Tam and I, and we will see you soon.
We'll see you guys soon. Have a great night. Thanks, fam.